We are live, and it's Wednesday's Real Talk on Real Estate. Welcome, YouTube. So we're going to talk about when investors can actually start investing again in residential real estate and what's going on right now in residential real estate. So I'm going to give you guys some market stats. I'm going to also talk to you guys about what's happening in the luxury home market and also the median home market and how investors can strategically position themselves in the residential sector. Now, you guys know that I predominantly invest in the commercial sector, but we've been a ground up developer in residential single family homes for over 25 plus years. We've done some fix and flips. I hate them. Not my cup of tea. And the reason why is because I just crush profits building houses. It doesn't make sense to me why people do fix and flips, but I know a lot of you guys do. So I don't want to slash your hand off and tell you guys are doing wrong, because if you're crushing profits doing it, awesome, keep doing it. We just make more profits in the commercial sector and in building ground up construction. So that's been our predominant area. Now, I will tell you guys that we've crushed single family residential purchases over the years. And one of the reasons why we've crushed residential single family profits is because we've always been strategically patient when we're purchasing. And one of the big things that right now in the residential sector is foreclosures are slightly up. They're not where they used to be back in like 2008, 9, and 10. But they're up, and they're up by like 15% of where they were, but 15% of nothing is just slightly over nothing, right? So, but we're still seeing foreclosures. And right now, the single family median home prices and stabilization is still 15% lower than what it was a year ago. Now, here's what's new. I always tell people, the reason that our business model works so well is because we don't focus in median homes and we don't focus on luxury homes. We always focus on the upper middle class. And there's not even talk about what's happening with the upper middle class and the upper median homes, because they're not getting touched right now. Those homes are stable. So investors, listen to what happened with the Fed hike, mortgage rates, and what's happening, because you're going to want to understand the single family median home prices are what gets slashed the hardest first. Then second, I've always told people, is luxury homes. And so right now, reports just came out that luxury home sales are down, like the physical sales quantity is down by 24% right now. And and luxury home prices in June and moving into July were down between 10 to 13% along the entire West Coast. And so now the nationwide luxury home prices were actually up by 5%. The West Coast is getting beat up. And but outside of the West Coast getting beat up, I love you, baby girl. So outside of the West Coast getting beat up, the rest of the continental United States on luxury homes is actually up by 5% in the month of June. And so astronomical numbers, in spite of what's happening in the single family market, in the median home sector. And the reason the single family median homes, anything under $400,000, gets crushed is because mortgage rate handcuffs median home buyers. They are already subject to fixed incomes that don't allow them to get into larger and higher end homes. And they just get handcuffed because the mortgage rate fluctuate their payments too high, that a difference of $500, $700, $600 a month gives them the inability to purchase those homes. That's why there's a 15% compression right now in the single family median home sector. But if once you hit over the $400,000 range, homes have been stable. In fact, home prices have continued going up. Because we have our education program, we've been able to watch it from a real life perspective with students, hundreds of them across the United States, that have been going out, buying land, building single family residential homes and selling them in excess of $20,000 higher than expected list prices. There's been times where, in fact, just 2 months ago, one of the gentlemen that works with us, one of the buyers came to look at one of our houses, and because it wasn't quite finished, we sent them over to go look at one of our students' houses, and they asked for the price, and I knew for sure that if I gave him a price $20,000 higher than what he was going to sell it for, or what I thought he was going to sell it for, he wouldn't be disappointed. And that house sold for $20,000 more than he was even expecting, just because I threw him a random price at the time that they were looking at one of our houses. So that's just one example of many, guys. And this is happening on homes that are in excess of that of that $400,000 range. Okay, so look, the Feds raised federal interest rates. The Feds raised interest rates, the Federal Reserve rate this past week. Okay, now there's been volatility in mortgage rates over the last 2 weeks, but they have actually been going down. But when the Feds announced the rate increase, they actually went up by one third of a percent, and it actually affected the mortgage rate and the residential market sector temporarily. Now, mortgage rates are slowly starting to decline in spite of interest rates and the Federal Reserve rate actually going up. And so for those of you guys that are looking for opportunity in the single family home space, listen, because if you don't, you're going to miss the boat. We've been talking about this for the last 2 years. A lot of people have been sitting on the sidelines, sitting back going, look, I'm scared to invest. And here's what's ironic to me is that people wait forever. They sit back, and we have a stimulated market. And I'll get people coming to me and say, Jerome, the market just seems so stimulated. I'm scared because I'm just afraid that we're too high. We're in a bubble and the market's going to collapse. And I say, okay, I think you should be buying, and how you buy is slightly different than when you buy in a compressed market, but you should be buying. And then when the market collapses, all those exact same people that said that they're concerned about investing in a market where we're in a bubble are sitting back going, damn, Jerome, the market tanked. Now I don't know what to do because the market fell out from underneath us and I'm afraid to buy. And I go, okay, so you afraid to buy in a high market or a low market? I'm confused. Which one? What are you waiting for exactly? And so nonetheless, I always tell people you should be buying in every single market, but strategically you need to be buying different ways depending on what market you're in. So here's what you should be buying right now, and here's what you should be paying attention to. Okay. Now, according to the National Association of Home Builders, home sales for the first time in 4 months actually went up in the month of June, moving into July. U.S. pending sales, according to the National Association of Realtors, also increased by June, which in spite of Wall Street projecting that we were going to get a 0.5% decline in housing sales, we actually went up by 1/3%. So we exceeded the Wall Street's projections, according to the National Association of Realtors, by almost 0.75% in just the month of June alone. So, I mean, unbelievable numbers, superseding Wall Street's expectations, and people are still sitting on the sidelines. I'm telling people, time is now, ladies and gentlemen. The market is already changing in the residential sector. Now, commercial is getting beat up, guys, and commercial is going to continue getting beat up for the next 2 years. I will tell you guys, we're going to rape and pillage the commercial market over the next 2 years. People were asking me, they say, Jerome, are you going to continue doing ground up development, being that there's going to be so much opportunity in just financially distressed assets? And the answer is yes. You don't take your foot off the pedal off on a business model that has strategically worked for you over the last 7 years, and then just all of a sudden say, I'm going to stop focusing on it. We set that business model up for recessionary times. So we're in a recessionary time. We still have a commercial recession to go through. But if you're a residential person and you're not focusing on commercial, you need to pay attention to this, because we've been talking about how important it is to sweep up residential homes during this compressed market. And the compression is almost over, ladies and gentlemen. We're already starting to see stabilization in the market. We still believe that the Feds will increase interest rates 2 times before the end of this year, which is going to bloody us up economically. But in spite of that, there's such a housing crisis right now that people are in massive needs of purchasing homes. There's not enough on the market. And so even though interest rates are high, people are having to find ways strategically to get into these homes. The reason why is because rental rates are going up. There's not enough rooftops even for leasing. And that's what makes our ground up construction so appeasing to people right now, because our returns are so high. Look, let me explain this to you guys from a housing perspective on a macro scale in the multifamily space. I sat down this last week with some legislators and some lobbyists, and I've been getting involved in the political game to get grant money to help offset expenses on our offsite development and lower debt prices through minority grants for developers. I'm like Lucky the Leprechaun. I'm like, I'm like, tricks aren't for kids, ladies and gentlemen. These tricks are for grown-ass adults that want to play the game strategically. I hate politics. I hate getting involved in them. But man, if they're going to make my projects go, I'm all in and I'm all ears and I'm paying attention to it. And so right now we're really hyper focusing down that avenue because that's what's working. But what we've been telling you guys is, look, the residential market sector has given opportunity to you guys to compress prices for the last 18 months or better, and people haven't taken advantage of them. And now they're starting to stabilize. As we move into 2024, it's an election year, ladies and gentlemen. Traditionally, election years are historic for the economy all miraculously repairing itself to at least a certain degree. And on a residential, single family, micro scale and macro scale, on the presidential side, the Democrats are going to strategically try to make the market look more stable than it is, so that the Democratic Party are the heroes. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, because if it was a Republican Party, they do the same damn thing. Okay. So don't sit back and say, oh, that's bullshit. It's not bullshit. It happens on both sectors, and it's straight up exactly what's going to happen in 2024. Watch what happens strategically. As God is my witness, you're going to witness this over the course of 2024 during this election year. Now, I don't know how to project post 2024 as of yet. We'll see what happens in 2025. I think a lot of what's going to happen is going to be dependent on at least on the residential side of things. On a macro scale, it's going to depend on who we elect as president. But right now, we have a full year of investment time. And I will tell you guys that large corporations, they do not make their 15-year projections based on elections and presidents and stuff like that. They make them based on economic historical changes, and they execute in that regards. So I will tell you guys to pay attention and focus on your own business like large corporations do on theirs, and don't pay attention to the presidential election. Know what historically happens, so you can take advantage of leveraging some of the assets during those times. Now, one thing that you guys want to pay attention to right now, and I'm going to kind of go over this in a way that helps you guys with interest and mortgage rates. Now, we will see interest and mortgage rates slightly come down. Right now, where the big sector is going to be in the residential sector and even commercial sector is in short sales before foreclosures. Short sales are when people go delinquent on their mortgages and they're 2-3 months post payments, and they're delinquent. And realtors start to work with the residential brokers start to work with the banks, the lenders on these assets, to be able to shake off this inventory, because a lot of these home owners, they can't recuperate from it. So what ends up happening is when these homeowners can't recuperate, the brokers go to the bank and they talk to the lender, and each lender has a department that focuses in short sales. And they say, look, can we sell this house short of what's owed on the mortgage? Because a lot of times they're over leveraged on the house. The loans, if they're not assumable, land up going into short sale. And this is where you land up getting good deals, but you got to be patient, because most short sales take an average of 90 days just to get word back. So what we do is we put an expiration date on our offers, but we put a lot of offers in on homes that are delinquent on sales, on mortgage payments, so that we can go in and we have multiple options. And we're pinging as many homes that are delinquent on mortgages as humanly possible. And so what we've done in the past is we know that the offer is going to expire in 3-4 days. So really our offer is void and null. So we really hold no liability on these purchase agreements, other than the fact that they're in. And so it's a strategic way to have our name in the game. And so if the banker rolls up to your file and there's 1 or 2 purchase agreements in there, they're going to come back and say, hey, we got your purchase agreement, then we're going to send a counter offer. And then a lot of times a broker calls you up a month, 2 months later and says, hey, are you still interested in XYZ property? And you go, and most people sit back and go, no, it took too long. We've already moved forward on another property. And so we're not interested in it right now. But you being an investor, you're sitting back going, well, and you play the same game. You sit back and go, well, we've actually moved forward on some other properties. We've strategically deployed our capital into other stuff. But what do you got? like talk to me, humor me with whatever you got. And a lot of times they land up coming back and saying, well, we got a counter offer on your offer, and here's what it is. And say, well, not only are we not going to accept their counter offer is too high, we're going to counter back even lower than what our previous offer was. And here's why. The market has since compressed again. Interest rates are even higher. Now the lending is going to be more expensive for us. So debt's going to be more expensive. And so then we cry broke on them. Everybody else, there's no other offers. So now you go back and you submit your counter offer again. Then they come back and they say, well, no. And then they bring their offer price down a little bit more, and you negotiate back and forth until you finally get a price that is palatable for you to say, ding, 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 ding. Let's take that bad boy down. I'm buying it. Okay. And that is how you get incredible deals when you're purchasing short sales during a compressed market. So ladies and gentlemen, a rise for the residential market, and the commercial market still has a recession to ride through. And I believe it's going to take 2 years, because that historically is how long commercial real estate trends behind residential, where commercial real estate has continued to stay extremely strong behind the compression of residential real estate. Now it's time for the commercial real estate market to get crushed a little bit before it rebounds completely. And it's time to start strategically position yourself to purchase residential real estate. Look, for more content just like this, those of you guys on YouTube, pound and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're notified when we go live and we post new videos. But pound that thumbs up button, give us some love, comment below if you're watching this post recording, put hashtag repeat. But click and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for our Real Talk on Real Estate. God bless you guys, and go out and compound your success. And you guys on Instagram, thank you.